Welcome back to the news from Kazakhstan. I am Marina Kim with the latest updates. The Alga Party activists have launched a series of protest campaigns nationwide protesting against the controversial law on the nation's leader. The first stage of the project, entitled Nazarbayev is not my leader, implies holding rallies in front of the ruling Nuratan Party offices around the country. In Almaty, the authorities are doing all possible to disturb the action of oppositionists. Next report has details.
Today, the Alga Party members visited the Almaty city administration in order to submit their applications for a sanction to hold a meeting on July 19th in front of the ruling Nuratan Party's office, which will put a start on the large-scale campaign "Nazarbayev is not our leader."
We want to see the government's reaction. They claim that we have a democracy. We want to see how they understand the democracy. I actually am sure they won't permit. I work in this field for 20 years now. They never had so far.
But it turned out that the administration office had a day off a closed house. The administrative support center, which usually processes the incoming documents, appeared to be at the state of siege.
We cannot even submit the application now, so you treat us like we are nobody. They live thanks to our taxes and treat us like that.
The Alga activists have waited for about 40 minutes. The office clerks have finally reacted positively by accepting the application. The party members will be notified about the city administration's decision within 5 working days.
The Astana authorities deliberately banned the peaceful assemblies, say the oppositionists. Any attempts of holding public actions and rallies normally end up with court proceedings and very high fines. The next story has insights.
As Kazakhstan faces the increasing number of banned rallies and persecuted dissidents, public activists in Astana state that the authorities are cutting short any attempts of citizens to exercise their right for peaceful assembly. Activist Polatbek Bilyalov has been charged 5 times for organizing unsanctioned rallies. This is a lot, since only 1 out of his 12 applications were approved last year. The reason why officials behave like this is the strict centricity of power, hence they are not afraid of people but rather of their superiors. The Astana city administration employs various reasons for refusing peaceful assemblies. Bilyalov says they even use insinuations by engaging students who are literally forced to hold spontaneous campaigns. There are 3 locations designated for rallies. All parties, including Nuratan, usually hold their actions there. Also, we do not deal with granting the right for assemblies. However, there is a problem. People want to be able to express their dissatisfaction in places where others can see it. For example, in front of the parliament or next to the president's palace. They, however, are not welcome there. It became normal to see the police rudely dispersing a rally. The situation reached absurd levels, as now people cannot even protest silently or holding empty posters.
We are wrapping up. You will be wrapped up too.
In the meantime, the human rights defender Polatbek Bilyalov believes that the time might have come for a social explosion. People need to have a chance to speak out of their problems, as otherwise the lower classes may get out of control.
Josar Alcoa-Nishalin has requested the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe Secretary Oliver Spencer to stop Kazakhstan's chairmanship of the OSCE ahead of time. Moreover, the appeal also calls for help in discharging Yermek Narymbayev and influence on the Kazakh government to cancel all discriminating laws on the peaceful assembly.
Mr. Spencer, we ask you to do everything you can to prevent the OSCE from embarrassing itself with an odious chairman like Kazakhstan led by Nazarbayev and terminate its chairmanship early.
Why not appeal to the Constitutional Council? This was a resuming statement made by the ZTSU District Court Judge Ramazanov during the final trial on the journalist Zhanna Baytelova's case. The details come next.
The last court proceeding on the journalist Zhanna Baytelova's lawsuit against the speakers of both chambers of the Kazakh parliament ended with legal confusion. After reviewing the materials of the case, the judge has assumed that Baytelova is complaining about the fact of introducing amendments to the law, although the complaint was addressed at the officials and their actions. As a result, the justice had advised the petitioner to appeal directly to the Constitutional Council. Lawyer Sergei Utkin thinks the decision is nothing but a runaround of the judge, as according to the law, only high-level official may appeal to the council.
Well,
Baytelova was referred to the Constitutional Council, even though the essence of the complaint didn't regard the law itself, but the action of the officials adopting it. Anyways, the ordinary citizens cannot appeal to the council. Zhana Baitelova was joined by her supporters, and now 27 similar lawsuits are being filed across the country. Amongst them, 4 have been already submitted. They all demand the amendments regarding the status of the nation's leader to be found illegitimate.
In Almaty, Tahirjan Akhmetov has filed a claim, and I just found out that Uralsk and Kostanay residents did the same. In total, 27 persons, as far as I remember, were going to apply the courts. I'm afraid they will be dealt in the same way, either rejected or referred to the Constitutional Council, even though we are appealing the officials' actions, not the law itself.
In any case, the Golos Respubliki, the voice of the Republic newspaper journalist, doesn't seem to give up despite the failure. She is now preparing another lawsuit which will feature arguments of why the officials' actions to be considered illegitimate in rather simple language this time.
The Almaty city administration has been under the noise attack as the residents of Shanyrak 5, Krasny Trudovik settlements, as well as Almaty residents suffering the forced resettlement processes, were shouting the Akim's name in front of the building. This way they tried to call out the mayor for a dialogue.
This morning was like 100 others for Izeda Jakubpek, the leader of the Arin Foundation. Equipped with banners featuring the organization's logo, Jakubpek moves towards the city administration. There she is joined by 23 families living in Shanyrak 5 and Krasny Trudovik villages, as well as residents of Almaty whose houses were demolished. For more than a year, the activists are struggling for justice.
These 23 families brought up their issues after all. It was last month. Dolzhenkov has personally assigned the members of the Land Commission to review and solve it positively. Just in 1 week he steps back from his promises. Moreover, denied he said anything like that at all.
The petition addressed at Akhmetjan Esimov by Arin members includes several demands. They want the authorities to give them ownership documents for the landlords of residents of both villages. Moreover, they demand to stop the forced resettlement of residents from the demolished houses. When the security officers saw the desperate crowd, they have locked up themselves inside the building. It was pointless to occupy the building, therefore the protesters called Esimov out.
Esimov, come out, you coward!
After half-an-hour-long shouts of Akim's name, the municipality office doors opened. Instead of Akim, the protesters were paid respect by an employee of the corporate policy department, Renat Kurmangazin.
You have got indifferent eyes. Call the deputy Akim or else.
If you want to meet Akim, first make an appointment, Rizada.
It is useless.
Why not? You are always welcome. In the end, though, the doors of the administration building weren't opened at all. After Kurmangazin, the head of mentioned department, came out to protesters. He told that Akim and his deputies were busy. The official also said that if people want to disperse, the action may be found as unsanctioned rally.
One of the Almaty districts has also reason to be worried. They are trying to get a fair compensation for the houses from which are being forced to resettle. Next story from the court proceeding has details.
On Thursday, Almaty resident Igor Goncharov has lost the lawsuit against the city mayor's office. 2 years ago, Goncharov and his neighbors received a notice about the demolition of their houses in the residential area, which said the land lot will be allocated for the city needs. At the moment, Igor's premises include a 3-room house with a garage and an outhouse, which the authorities proposed to exchange for a 1-roomed flat. The house owner doesn't agree with the offer, but the court didn't take this side. If I want to remain in the area, I'd be left with enough money to buy just a room in a privatized dormitory. Whereas now I live in a big house with a garage and an outhouse, and we have enough room for everyone, my wife, kid and mother. The Almaty city mayor's office and Almaty Ger company representatives confirmed that the market price of the housing doesn't correspond to the current cost. The city administration, though, still insists maintains its position. I didn't want to offer the family some housing in the lower part of the city, thus I had to settle with at least a 1-room apartment in this area. The mayor's office has initiated a lawsuit so the court could set the amount of compensation. Upon hearing the arguments of the sides, the judge has left the room to make the final decision. The verdict has announced just 3 minutes later. The district residents and public activists were obviously upset by the outcome. Now the 3 families intend to appeal the decision in the Supreme Court of Kazakhstan.